everybody. So today we are going to make a skirt for our dolls, and what I've done, and I've been looking for this for a while in the charity shops, but you can get these in places like the clothes place of Poundland or Primark and things like that. It's always worth looking out for them. This is just a baby skirt and it says that it's size small, but when I held it up to the onto my board, it comes out at roughly about about 9.5 inches, which is the size of my dolls. So that's the sort of size I've been looking for a while. It wouldn't matter if it was longer, because you can always cut a piece off the bottom, or you can always cut one of the skirts off. So say you could always have one of them and just have less of the frills on them. So that's all we're going to do, and it's going to be a very quick project. We are going to take the skirt and we're going to measure how much it is around our doll's body. So I shall just go and do that now. So here we have Audra, and I'm just going to measure around her waist. Now when you look at your dolls, you'll find that each of your dolls has a different size waist, because it all depends on how much stuffing they've got. So she is 11.5 inches. Now remember, when we come to do our sewing, we're going to put a quarter of an inch, seam on each side. So you want to have at least another ½ inch, maybe even another inch on what you've got, because you need a ½ inch for the seam on both sides, and then you need another bit to hang over the edge, otherwise you'd be right on the very edge and you wouldn't be able to, it would fray and it would come away. So you need to add on about an inch. So we need to make our skirt at 12.5 inches to go around her waist. So here's the skirt. So if we say it had to be 12.5, that would be 6.25 if we were going to cut it like this. Okay, so we'd have to go in and cut it at 6.25 like that. All right, and that should go around her. The other way you can do it is to turn it inside out, place it on your doll, and then pin exactly where you would like it to be. So you would just pin it so that you get that fit on her, and you want it to be a little bit snug because you don't want it to slide down. Okay, so you're going to pin it just say like that there. Now if you're careful, you might be able to get enough to do enough for another doll out of that and get 2 skirts out of that fabric. Okay, so I'm just going to pop a pin in there. So that's fitting her quite nicely, and I should be able to get that on and off quite easily. So I'll just pop a pin in, and this is where I'm going to want to cut it. So I'm going to slide it off her. So make sure when you do slide it off, it comes off nice and easily. Just pop her out of the way a moment. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to want to cut it, and when we have a look, that was actually half the skirt. So I'm now going to very carefully cut this skirt in half. And I want to be really careful with the way I cut it, because I don't want any jagged bits coming onto the net, because the net is a bit fussy. Let's make sure I get it nicely all laid out. So I'm going to just lay it all out nicely like that. Then you can take your scissors and just go straight down the middle. If you line your pin up with a mark on that, on your board, if you've got a board, and you line it up with a mark on it, you can come across and get a reasonably straight cut. So I'm going to cut that one there, down that line on 13. And mind you don't get that pin in the scissors. You don't want to blunt your blade. Just take your time and run down through. If you've got a pin on either side, that'll help, because if you have got elastic in there, that'll stop the elastic from pulling back inside. I'm just going to put that over there. in there as well, and I can whip that pin out because it was catching a little bit. Okay, let's just put that back on the line again where I had it, because I want to go straight, and you might just have to do that. There we go, come down the middle of that fold there. That's it. There we go. Now you should be able to take this now to the sewing machine and stitch a straight stitch right down, but what you want to make sure is you catch all of these pieces in there. So what I'm going to do is just pull these edges together onto that net, because you only want the edge. Okay, so I'm going to get these pieces all together and place them flat on there, and then just pin like we usually do all the way down to the bottom. So you want that where that ribbon is, look, can you see it has to go down flat? There we are. Okay, so I'm just going to put that pin in there so all those ribbony pieces are nice and flat. I'm going to put another pin in here so all these pieces lay flat, because you want all those edges, because we've got about 4 edges or 6 edges in there. Okay, and then we've got another 2 edges here. We want these 2 to come together where that ribbon is there, and these 2, run that across there like that, and that piece there as well. There we go, and then I'm going to pin those 2, and then I'll pin these last 2 at the end, and I would go and pin that other skirt so that I've got it all ready for later on. I'll put that in a bit better, that one's going very well. So you've got all those there, and I'm just going to put a pin in the net because I don't want that net moving around too much. Okay, so there you go, I've got it all pinned all the way down. I'm just going to take it now and put a row of straight stitches in through there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, and I'm not going to start on that piece of elastic there. I'm going to come in and I'm going to start here, and I'm going to come all the way down, and then I'm going to flip it over and come back and do the elastic afterwards, because that's going to be really bulky to start me off, and I always struggle starting off. So I'm going to slide it under, just going to work it so the edge of my foot is sitting right on the edge of that skirt. Okay, so I'm just giving myself just a little bit extra space with this one because it's net, and net does tend to pull out. So let's see how we're going. I'm coming in a little bit because I've noticed that the net on the inside is not going all the way to the outside. So I've just come in a tiny bit, and I can always trim those bits on the edge off. Want to make sure I catch all the layers of net. If I can, I would like those 2 little pieces of ribbon to sit together. I'm just going to do a back stitch there. Okay, and what I'm going to do now, take that off, like that, and I'm going to come up this way so that I finish on this side of it. I'm just going to do a few back stitches there, and then I'm going to come up. And what you want to do is make sure both of those pieces of seam are going down. It's quite bulky. It might take a little bit more pushing. There we go. Make sure you've got plenty of that elasticated side on that side of it, on this side here. Stitch, and let's go all the way down and all the way back again, and I'm going to finish in the middle there, and the reason for that is I won't have that long end right on the end of my sewing. Okay, So now if you have a lot of excess net on the side, don't worry too much, because what you can do is just come along and just give it a little trim. You want to leave yourself about 1/4 to 1/2 inch on that side, like that, and then just give it a little trim all the way along. There as well, that lump off. Okay, and then we're going to take it back to the sewing machine and we're going to do a zigzag stitch all the way down. So I've got a foot on, which works really well for a zigzag stitch. Okay, and to change mine to a zigzag stitch, I just come over here like that. You might have something here, you might have something here, but usually it's just got that zigzag on it. Okay, so change it to that. I'm just going to come in right here at the end, put it in just a little bit, and then do your and I'm going to do a drop. I have a down needle on mine. Mine has got a down needle position. Okay, I'm just going to do a few stitches and I'm going to run backwards to and do right to the end. Sorry, my foot slipped off the thing, and then I'm going to go all the way up now. Sorry, okay, now. I'm just going to run backwards again, just a few back stitches just to hold it in place, and there you go. So that's much neater, as you can see, because I think with the skirt it looks really sort of like peasanty, sort of nice like that, so I really love that. I hope you like this video. Goodbye.